Night Shift Horror Story, The Last Patient. Prologue. Working the night shift has its own kind of silence, an oppressive stillness that makes the hum of fluorescent lights feel deafening. Most people think hospitals, security booths, or gas stations are safe because they're always open. But anyone who has worked past midnight knows the truth: night shifts attract strange things. Drifters, addicts, lost souls, and sometimes things far worse. This story comes from a nurse who swore she would never take another night shift again. She kept the job for 3 years, but after one particular night, she quit nursing altogether. She said it wasn't just fear, it was survival. It was late October, 2018, at a mid-sized hospital in Cleveland, Ohio. Nurse Marissa had been assigned to the graveyard shift, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. She didn't mind usually. The pay was slightly better, and she preferred the quiet. But that night, she felt uneasy the moment she parked her car in the half-empty lot. The hospital loomed ahead, its windows reflecting only the orange glow of the lot lamps. It was cold, her breath visible, but the chill that ran down her back wasn't just from the weather. Inside, the halls were dim, much of the ward shut down for the night. Only the ICU and ER buzzed with activity. Marissa's post was the North Wing, Ward C, mostly elderly patients recovering from surgery. When she arrived, the outgoing nurse gave her report and hesitated before handing over the clipboard. "Room 6, just keep an eye out," the other nurse muttered. "What do you mean?" Marissa asked. "Old man, came in yesterday. Keeps talking. Says he sees things. It's probably just delirium, but he's creeping the staff out." Marissa shrugged it off. She'd seen worse. Elderly patients often hallucinate, especially under medication. But the night had only just started. Around 1:30 a.m., most of the ward was silent. Marissa made her rounds with only the squeak of her shoes and the soft beeping of heart monitors breaking the quiet. When she reached room 6, she froze. The old man was sitting upright in his bed, eyes wide open, staring at the corner of the room. His thin arms shook, and his lips moved as if whispering to someone unseen. Marissa slowly stepped inside. "Mr. Hensley? You okay?" The old man's eyes darted to her. His pupils looked almost too wide, drowning his blue irises in darkness. "They're here," he whispered. "Who's here?" she asked. "They walk the halls when the lights go dim. Don't you hear them?" Marissa forced a calm smile. "You're safe here. Try to get some rest." But he grabbed her wrist with surprising strength. His skin was cold, clammy. "You're not listening," he hissed. "When you see the shadows stretch under the door, don't open it." A chill went through her. She gently pulled away, checked his fore, and left, trying to shake off his words. But as she walked down the hall, she noticed something odd. The lights above room 6 flickered, buzzing faintly. Though the rest of the ward remained steady. By 2:15 a.m., the ward was silent again. Marissa sat at the nurse's station, sipping bad coffee and updating charts. Then she heard it, footsteps. Not the light shuffle of slippers or the rubber soles of nurses. These were slow, dragging steps, echoing faintly in the hallway. She stood, thinking maybe another nurse had come by, but when she peeked around the corner, the hallway was empty. Every room door was shut. Still, the sound continued, faint, moving toward her, then stopping. Her walkie-talkie crackled softly. "North Wing, status check." It was security. "Everything's fine," she replied, though her voice wavered. She sat back down, but her eyes kept darting to the hallway. Something about those footsteps, it wasn't just the sound, but the weight behind it. Heavy. Wrong. At 3:10 a.m., she went to check on room 6 again. The old man was awake, trembling. His eyes locked on the bottom of the door, where a faint, stretching shadow pooled across the floor. Marissa froze. There was no one in the hallway. She had just walked past, empty. But the shadow moved, like something was standing right outside. "Don't," the old man whispered, clutching his blanket. "Don't open it." The shadow grew longer, wider, as if pressing against the door. Then came the sound, breathing. Deep, rattling breaths, right outside. Marissa's skin crawled. She backed away, heart racing. She thought about calling security, but before she could, the shadow slid away, vanishing under the doorframe as if retreating down the hall. The old man began sobbing silently. "It's looking for someone new." At 4 a.m., Marissa checked the ward again. She counted 6 patients. But by 4:30, when she returned after a bathroom break, one bed was empty. Room 8. She rushed inside. The sheets were pulled back, the 4-line dangling, monitor beeping a flatline. But there was no patient. No blood, no trail, nothing. Panic surged. She called security. When 2 guards arrived, they searched the halls, the stairwells, the bathrooms. No one. The patient, a 67-year-old woman recovering from surgery, was simply gone. Cameras? Blank. Security pulled footage from the hallway outside room 8, but at exactly 4:12 a.m., the screen went black for 5 minutes. When it came back, the bed was empty. By 5 a.m., the entire ward felt colder, the air heavy. Marissa stayed close to room 6, the only patient who seemed to understand. "They took her, didn't they?" the old man croaked. Marissa's hands shook. "Who?" "The ones who walk when the living sleep." The lights above them flickered again, buzzing louder, and for the first time, Marissa heard it, multiple footsteps, echoing down the hallway. Not one set. Several. Slow. Heavy. Coming closer. The old man began praying, whispering under his breath, rocking back and forth. Marissa looked down. Shadows crept under the door again, not one, but 3 distinct shapes, long and twisted. And then the door handle rattled. She held her breath. The handle turned slowly, once, twice, but the door didn't open. Then silence. When she looked back, the shadows were gone. At 7 a.m., staff arrived to relieve her. She told them everything, begged them to check again for the missing patient. The official report claimed the woman left against medical advice, walking out unnoticed. But Marissa knew better. No cameras showed her leaving. No staff saw her. She was simply erased. As for the old man in room 6, he died the following night, alone in his bed. Cause: cardiac arrest. Marissa never worked another night shift again. She told this story only once, years later, swearing every word was true. She said the hospital still operates, still runs night shifts, and still loses patients from time to time. The staff call it coincidence. But those who've worked long enough know, sometimes the night itself comes to claim what it wants. Night shift horror story: the disappearing security guard. If you've ever worked the night shift, you know there's something unnatural about it. The silence isn't just silence, it's alive. Every hum of electricity, every flicker of a light feels like it's carrying weight. Hospitals, gas stations, warehouses, security jobs, they all have one thing in common: people see and hear things at night they can never explain in daylight. This story isn't fiction. It comes from security workers at a corporate office in Chicago, Illinois, who still refuse to work nights alone after what happened. One man disappeared without a trace, and the last recordings of him still circulate quietly among guards who whisper about what really happened that night. The Jefferson Towers office complex wasn't especially creepy during the day. A standard corporate building, 10 floors of law firms, accounting offices, and insurance companies. But at night, it turned into something else. Empty halls. Motion sensor lights clicking on with delay. Elevators that hummed faintly even when unused. In 2019, the company outsourced its security to a small firm. Guards rotated shifts, but one man, David Morales, often volunteered for the graveyard slot, 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. He was 34, ex-military, quiet but reliable. People liked him. His routine was simple. Patrol all 10 floors once per hour. Check the stairwells, restrooms, and offices. Monitor cameras from the security office in the basement. Report any suspicious activity. Nothing ever happened. The building was empty at night. Just him, his radio, and the endless hum of air conditioning. Until one October night. Around 1:45 a.m., David noticed something odd. While monitoring cameras, he saw the elevator doors open on the 6th floor, but no one was there. He radioed it in. "Base, this is Morales. Elevator malfunction. 6th floor." The dispatcher made a note, but it wasn't urgent. Elevators sometimes glitched. Still, protocol required a check. So David took the stairs up. When he reached the 6th floor, the lights flickered on automatically. The hallway stretched long and empty, offices dark behind frosted glass walls. The elevator doors stood open, but the car was empty. He stepped inside, pressed the ground floor. The doors closed. He rode down. When the elevator stopped, the doors slid open, to the 8th floor. David frowned. He hadn't pressed 8. The hallway lights there were dim, buzzing faintly, but he could see a figure at the far end. A woman in a long dress, her back to him, standing completely still. "Ma'am," he called out instinctively. "This building's closed." She didn't move. He stepped out, but as soon as his boot hit the carpet, the lights flickered violently, then stabilized. The hallway was empty. The woman was gone.
Shaken, David returned to the basement. He told himself he imagined it. Security guards saw weird things all the time. Sleep deprivation, dim lights, overactive mind. But around 3:10 a.m., he heard something new. On the camera feed for the 10th floor stairwell, he heard breathing. Not faint, not distorted. Clear. Heavy. Almost in rhythm. He leaned closer to the monitor. The stairwell was empty. Just the concrete steps, the metal railing, the red exit sign buzzing faintly. Yet the audio picked up unmistakable breathing, slow and labored, as if someone, or something, was inches from the microphone. He switched cameras. Basement, 2nd floor lobby. Silent. Back to the 10th floor stairwell. Still breathing. He grabbed his flashlight, muttering, "Hell no!" By 3:30 a.m., David decided to check the stairwell himself. He climbed floor by floor, radio on his belt, flashlight beam cutting across the dark concrete. Each floor was silent. When he reached the 10th floor door, he paused. Something felt wrong. The handle was ice cold. He pushed it open slowly. The hallway was dark. No motion sensor lights flickered on. Just blackness stretching out. He raised his flashlight. The beam shook in his hand. Offices lined both sides, glass walls reflecting his own nervous face. At the far end, movement. He froze. The same woman in the dress stood there again, back turned. This time, she tilted her head slightly, as if listening. David raised his radio. "Base, I've got a trespasser, 10th floor. Female, long dress, not responding." Static. "Base, do you copy?" The radio hissed, then went dead. When he looked back up, The hallway was empty again. He retreated, walking backward, never turning his back. When he reached the stairwell door, he yanked it shut, heart pounding. Back in the basement, he stared at the 10th floor camera feed. It was black. Offline. Every other floor showed clear images. Only the 10th floor was gone. At 4:12 a.m. The system logged its last footage of David Morales. Security archives later revealed this. Camera shows David exiting the elevator on the 6th floor. He shines his flashlight down the hall. He speaks, though the mic picks up only faint whispers. He turns his head suddenly, as if hearing something behind him. Then his flashlight drops to the floor, rolling until it points at the ceiling. For 11 minutes, the camera records only that angle, faint ceiling tiles, flickering light, static creeping across the frame. Then, movement. The flashlight is lifted. Slowly. By a hand that isn't David's. The feed cuts out. When the morning shift arrived at 7 a.m., David was gone. His patrol log stopped at 3:30 a.m. His radio was found on the basement desk, battery drained. His car was still in the lot. Police were called. They searched the entire building. No sign of forced entry. No broken locks. No trace of struggle. Every camera feed was intact, except the 10th floor and that last clip on the 6th. David Morales was declared missing. To this day, no one knows what happened. Some guards claim he ran away, though nothing in his life suggested it. Others say he fell victim to someone hiding in the building, though no evidence was ever found. But those who worked with him, those who saw the recordings, don't believe it was human. Jefferson Tower still stands. Security guards still patrol its empty floors at night. But no one lasts long. They say after 3 a.m., the elevators sometimes move on their own. The 10th floor camera still goes offline for random minutes at a time. And more than once, guards have sworn they've seen a woman at the end of the hall, standing perfectly still, back turned, waiting. When asked what she looks like, they all give the same answer. You can never see her face. She never lets you. Night shifts are not for the faint of heart. Ask anyone who has worked through the small hours, security guards, truck drivers, nurses, and they'll tell you the same thing. The world feels wrong at night. Places that are safe in the day become strange, hollow, and alive after midnight. Hospitals are the worst. They never sleep, but at night their walls hum with something darker than illness. This is the story of a nurse named Elaine Pierce, who worked the graveyard shift at St. Andrew's Hospital in Michigan. She lasted there for almost 2 years. But one night in 2017, she vanished without a trace during her shift. What I'm about to tell you comes from staff interviews, hospital security logs, and the fragments of footage that remain. St. Andrews wasn't a massive hospital, just a regional facility with a trauma ward, ER, and 3 patient wings. During the day it was bustling, but at night only a handful of staff covered entire floors. Elaine, 29, was assigned to Ward B, a wing housing mostly post-surgery patients. On her team that night were Tom Willis, a junior doctor, Janine Clark, another nurse, and Arthur Hale, the security guard posted on the ground floor. The rest of the wing was eerily empty. Elaine didn't mind the quiet. She liked nights, until she began to notice the patterns. Lights flickering only in certain halls. Wheelchairs rolling a few inches on their own. the occasional sound of footsteps behind her, though the corridor was empty. She wrote it off as stress, until the night of September 12, 2017. At 12:45 a.m., Elaine made rounds. Room 14's patient, a frail man recovering from a hip replacement, was sitting up, pale and trembling. "They keep walking past my door," he whispered. "Who?" Elaine asked. "The tall ones, with no faces." Elaine frowned. "No one's in the hall. You must have dreamed it." But as she adjusted his fore, she noticed his eyes weren't on her. He was staring past her, at the doorway. When she turned, the hallway was empty. Still, a draft passed through the room, though the window was shut. When she stepped back into the corridor, she swore she saw a shadow slip around the corner, though there was no one assigned to that wing at the time. She shook it off, but wrote a note in her log. Room 14. Patient reports figures outside his door. Hall lights flickered again. By 2:05 a.m., Elaine sat at the nurse's station with Janine, drinking stale coffee. The monitors buzzed softly. Then, a ding. The elevator down the hall opened. But no one got out. Elaine and Janine looked at each other. The elevators were locked after visiting hours, accessible only by staff keycards. Elaine stood. "I'll check it." She walked down the hall. The elevator doors stood open, empty. But when she looked at the floor indicator, it showed the elevator had just come down from the 7th floor. There was only one problem. St. Andrews had 6 floors. At 2:40 a.m., security guard Arthur Hale radioed the nurses. "Hey, you two seeing anything weird on your floor?" "Why?" Elaine asked. "Because I'm looking at the cameras, and well, look." Later, investigators recovered this footage. Camera 3B shows Elaine walking past the elevator. Behind her, a figure steps out after she passes. Tall. Thin. Its face blurred, distorted by static. It stands motionless for nearly 14 seconds. Then the feed glitches. When it clears, the figure is gone. Elaine never saw it. At 3:20 a.m., alarms blared in room 19. Patient in distress. Elaine and Janine rushed inside. The bed was empty. Sheets pulled back, monitor flatlining. The patient, a 47-year-old man recovering from appendicitis, was gone. No sign of forced exit. The window locked from inside. Security combed the halls. Nothing. But in the footage, the patient can be seen sitting up at 3:14 a.m. Then, a tall shadow moves across the room. When the camera glitches back, the bed is empty. By 4 a.m. Panic rippled through Ward B. Janine begged Elaine to stick together, but Elaine insisted on finishing her rounds. She checked room 14 again. The old man was gone too. Only his gown remained, folded neatly on the chair. Elaine's breathing grew frantic. She wrote in her log, 2 patients missing. Lights flickering. Elevators malfunctioning. I hear footsteps everywhere. Her handwriting broke off mid-sentence. At 4:37 a.m., cameras captured Elaine walking down the main hall, flashlight in hand. She pauses, turns her head. Her mouth opens, as if screaming. Then she is pulled backward into a dark doorway, though no one else is visible. The flashlight clatters to the floor. The feed cuts to static. Morning staff found Ward B in chaos. 3 patients missing. Elaine gone. Janine hysterical. Police were called. They searched every floor, every stairwell, every exit. Nothing. Elaine Pierce was declared a missing person. No trace of the patients was ever found. The official report blamed technical malfunctions and human error. But the security footage tells another story. Every clock in Ward B glitched between 3 o'clock and 5 a.m., skipping forward, losing minutes. And in one frozen frame, when investigators slowed the footage, they saw something. A tall, faceless figure standing at the end of the hall, watching Elaine before she vanished. St. Andrews still operates today. Ward B is closed, officially for renovations, though no one has worked there since 2017. Staff whisper about footsteps in the empty wing, elevators opening on sealed floors, and patients who claim they see the tall ones walking the halls. As for Elaine, her case remains unsolved. Her family still lights a candle every September, and the staff who remember her avoid the night shift whenever they can. Because sometimes the night itself takes more than just your time. Sometimes it takes you.